Cinder, Bill Walton, and the legendary coach himself, John Wooden.
And the last undefeated team, led by Scott May and Bob Knight, Indiana of 1976. Larry Bird of the Missouri Valley's Indiana State in 1979 lost to Magic Johnson's. They opened 33-0 and 34-0. Larry Johnson, as we look at the UNLV Running Rebels.
Now your lineups on the floor, brought to you by Michelin, first from Missouri State, Williams, Reuter, Pickens, Gully, and McCullough. And for the Shockers, Van Vliet and Baker, the sophomore dynamic duo, Tequil Cotton, the #1 defensive stopper, and the seniors on senior day, Cleanthony Early and Kadeem Colby. And we're set to go from the Roundhouse, Koch Arena, the 146th consecutive game with 10,000 plus fans in attendance. Van Vliet controls the opening tip. Here's Baker, first shot of the game. Short and to the right. Goes out of bounds, and it'll be Missouri State basketball.
It's important early in this game, Coach, to handle the emotions. The players can say that they put it aside. They're not focused on it. They've been extremely focused over the last 2 games, 2 days of practice. But coming out here today, senior night, you know the guys are a little bit more jacked up.
Now, that may have been a rush shot. Usually Wichita State gets it inside early and often.
Here's #1 in maroon, Pickens. Three-point shooter is Reuter. 10 on the shot clock. And the first steal of the game from Cotton. Here's Baker to the hole.
We might have seen this script before. Defense leading to offense for Wichita State.
That's what the Shockers do as well as any team in the nation.
The play angry points will be tracked all day long. Points off turnovers, points in the paint, and second chance points. That's how Wichita State beats you.
Here's Gully, leading scorer for the Bears with 7. He slices in, comes up empty. The rebound to Colby. Early got fouled by the freshman McCullough, and Cleanthony Early will go to the line and shoot 2.
Great job, as always, floor spacing in transition, whether it's off the rebound, off of the make, or off of the steal. Wichita State offensively spaces the floor and finds the open man. Fred Van Vliet so good at distributing and setting the table.
And one unsung thing about the Shockers, Mark, that we've seen all season, their best players, Early, Van Vliet, Baker, they all shoot it over 80% from the line.
And that is so critical in late game situations. And the last big late game situation was at Missouri State when they trailed by 19 in the second half and somehow found a way to win.
Early 1 for 2, coming up on 2 minutes gone by, 3-0 Shockers. And we welcome you to Wichita, Kansas, the Roundhouse, Charles Koch Arena. Over 10,000 packed in to see if Wichita State can complete the undefeated season alongside Sean Farnham and Mark Adams. I'm Rich Hollenberg. This is Saturday Showcase presented by 5 Hour Energy, part of Bracket Builder Week. Holly Rowe is standing by as well. And we have the most electric crowd that all of us have ever been a part of. And so far, Wichita State has come out and done what they normally do, Sean.
It starts at the defensive end of the floor. They're rebounding the ball. They're swarming the ball, making you take contested shots. And Wichita State has been so efficient going in back into last season, into this year, night in and night out, being prepared for the other team's offensive weapons.
There's Paul Lusk, 3rd season with Missouri State, 42 years old, spent 7 years on the bench at Purdue as one of the top assistants.
Now, Rich, if there were a toughness meter in college basketball, Wichita State would be a 10. Missouri State would be a 9.8. This is a very tough basketball team and the toughest matchup for Wichita State in the Valley so far this season.
Shockers, the #1 offense in the conference, #1 defense in the Valley as well. 10 on the shot clock. McCullough got fouled, much to the chagrin of Shockers head coach Greg Marshall. It's going to go on Colby, his first.
I like Tyler McCullough. He's a freshman. He's got good hands. He runs the floor. He's learning how to draw contact. The Missouri Valley has 4 quality big guys, and Tyler McCullough is freshman, and McCullough's one of those guys.
Well, and the big thing for the Shockers when they were watching film and breaking it down yesterday was McCullough is moving better out of the floor. Bigs take a little bit longer to adjust to the Division I level, and this young man has a tremendous future ahead of him at Missouri State.
If you can catch it and you can run, you can teach him to do the rest.
McCullough 1 for 2, first point of the afternoon for the Missouri State Bears. They're on the board with 17-12 to go in the first. Some token pressure by Missouri State.
And they look to trap out of this, so you got to be strong with the basketball. That time a little, not strong enough by Baker. I mean, he's got to be able to get the ball and look and find the open man.
Greg Marshall, 7th season in Wichita, of course, took his team to a Final Four last year. Best school start in history. The only team to start a season 30-0, and he's second all-time in wins here at Wichita State. And when you talk about wins, that's a winner right there. 43-2 as a starter is Ron Baker.
Watch number 5, Jeff Gully. He's got to be the go-to guy. He's the toughest guy on Missouri State's roster. Jamar Gully, number 5 in maroon.
In the low post, Colby converts.
Superb floor spacing, great ball movement, no wasted dribbles. The precision in the half court is better this year for the Shockers than it was even a year ago when they made that run to Atlanta.
McCullough trapped underneath, stepped on the end line. And Sean, on both ends of the floor, we've already seen the big men for Wichita State. I think around the country, the perception is they might not be as talented in the middle when they go up against quote-unquote elite-level programs, but they have a three-headed monster in there.
A little undersized, but not underutilized as far as what they need to do. They have great length and great athleticism. They can rotate them in. They've got combined 15 fouls that they can use with their interior presence.
Here's Cotton guarded by Gully. Lufiel checked in. Picked up his own miss, and Shadrack Lufiel, one of 4 seniors on senior day here for the Shockers, will go to the line at 15:37 to go in the first half. Well, this is the 146th consecutive 10,000-plus crowd here in Charles Koch Arena. They call it the Roundhouse. There's no better place to be in college basketball right now than right here alongside Mark Adams and Sean Farnham. I'm Rich Hollenberg. And when you talk about the narrative, everybody knows about the undefeated season. But, Sean, it comes with some obstacles. We've seen this story before last year.
Well, even last year, you go back to the team that Wichita State beat in the NCAA tournament, the Gonzaga Bulldogs. They ascended to #1 in the Associated Press poll. There was a lot of pressure put on that team. They got a little tight when they got to #1. For Wichita State, they're not worried about being #1. They're worried about being perfect and finishing out their regular season today.
Well, Missouri State's worried about being the #3 seed in the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament in March Madness next week. And they've done a tremendous job of recovering from a terrible start a year ago where they lost 10 consecutive games in non-conference to Division I opponents. This year, 9-2 to open up the season. And then the injury to Marcus Marshall, their best player, but they've recovered, still fighting for a #3 seed in the always tough Valley.
And befitting of the history that's already been made with Wichita State, gentlemen, we're going to take some historical context in our one-on-one because the Shockers truly are, Sean, chasing history.
There's no question. You look at the great programs in all of college basketball, they've tasted the perfect season, and that's what Wichita State is attempting to do here. They're looking at the perfect regular season. How about the perfect seasons overall for UCLA? They had 5 of them. It helps when you have Lou Alcindor and Bill Walton and the greatest coach to ever coach the game in John Wooden.
Well, how about Bob Knight in Indiana in 1976 and Scott May and Larry Bird in Indiana State out of Missouri Valley started 33-0 before they lost to Magic Johnson's Michigan State Ball Club. And Larry Johnson of the UNLV Runnin' Rebels and Jerry Tarkanian went 34-0 before losing to Duke in the national semifinals.
We'd be remiss if we didn't mention that in any big game in college basketball, you can count on Holly Rowe being here. There she is off to the left. She'll be talking with one Robert Montgomery Knight coming up in a little while. He visited practice yesterday, spoke to the team. We'll hear from him coming up a little bit later. Of course, worked in some pheasant hunting while he was around these parts as well.
Well, what a start, really, when you think about Wichita State at the free throw line right now. And what better example of the makeup of this team than the fact that they've started this game, we're over 4 minutes in. They have yet to allow a field goal made by Missouri State. And then at the offensive end of the floor, they have 3 made field goals. All 3 have come via the assist.
Lufiel missed the first one. And he goes 0 for 2, the senior from Ontario, Canada.
Watch the pressure that Fred Van Vliet, number 23 in white, that he asserts at the top of this defense.
Well, Wichita, Kansas is the epicenter of college basketball. We welcome you to Saturday Showcase presented by 5 Hour Energy, part of Bracket Builder Week, as Cleanthony Early knocks down his first 3 to give him 4 points for the game and increase the Wichita State lead to 11-3 with 14:53 to go alongside Mark Adams and Sean Farnham. I'm Rich Hollenberg. This is also part of ESPN's Journey to the Tourney. And so far, Wichita State has shown no nervous energy, no bundled up energy. They've come out firing on all cylinders.
Well, it's been a great journey this season for Wichita State. They're trying to cap it off with a perfect regular season. Truly remarkable with what this team has been able to accomplish so far.
The bucket's going to count. And it took about 5.5 minutes, but Missouri State's finally put back-to-back field goals together.
Ron Mavica, one of those guys that's very athletic. He's always in attack mode. It's feast or famine with him. But when it's feast, he's really good.
6'6" junior, JUCO transfer out of Paris, France. Knocks down the three-point play. It's 11-6. And now another senior on senior day for the Shockers. Nick Wiggins checks in to make his first appearance. Gets a big round of applause from the Shocker faithful inside Koch Arena.
That last name sounds vaguely familiar.
His parents are in attendance today, and they'll try to make the drive to Stillwater to watch Andrew play tonight.
Weather might be problematic there. I've been looking at what my live Doppler says. It might be difficult to get down there.
The meteorologist in you has been working overtime.
Multifaceted.
Missouri State plays a lot of 2-3 zone. You got to bang threes right on cue from Cleanthony Early.
Speaking of banging threes, Early has a game-high 7. It's a 14-6 Wichita State lead.
Back-to-back possessions, he's been wide open from beyond the arc, and you've got to have an awareness that he can hurt you from the outside. It's not all about the offensive rebounds and the interior stuff that Cleanthony Early brings.
And they're going to get Mavuika with the traveling violation. Well, there's Nick Wiggins celebrating senior day, and there are his parents, Marita and Mitch. Both went to Florida State, but have really found a home away from home in the state of Kansas. Both of their children attending Wichita State and Kansas, respectively.
And obviously, both of them on teams that have aspirations to end the season in North Texas at the Final Four.
And his mother, quite the athlete, won 2 silver medals for Canada in the 1984 Olympic Games. That's a heck of a gene pool right there.
Van Vliet the lob. Lufiel finishes.
What I love about Fred Van Vliet is look at the look away. The court vision, the awareness, his ability to read where the defense is sagging off and delivers it on time and on target, Coach.
He makes everybody better for what I want in a point guard. A guy that sees the floor, that can pressure you at the point of attack and make plays defensively, can bang big threes at big times. He chooses when to score, and he knows when to make his teammates better.
And
I think he's the best point guard in the country.
Mark, you've spent as much, if not more time than Greg Marshall, than any broadcaster at ESPN. He told us earlier, no one wants to win more than Fred VanVleet. And for Greg Marshall to say that, that holds some real clout. Offensive rebound, Missouri State, but we're going the other way.
Well, the one thing, Coach, that has impressed me all season long watching Wichita State, from the time I saw them at the CBE in Kansas City to watching them on film all the way up until this game being back here, is their rotations on the defensive end of the floor. Their built-in help side, they show on ball screens, they recover so quickly. They have a belief and trust in one another that if they pressure out, that there's going to be somebody there to help cover them if they make a mistake and get a blow by.
Sean, that's why they went to the Final Four last year. They hung their hat on defense, and frankly, they won angry and ugly last year. This team is much more poetic. This team is much more aesthetically pleasing to watch because they're so good offensively. That's why they could win the national championship.
12 on the shot clock. Baker surveys. Inside again. And Sean, we talked about the three-headed monster in the middle for Wichita State. All three of those players have scored already.
And you know what? I think the fans like it. There's a little energy, a little buzz in the building today.
Shear off the mark. One and done again for the Bears.
This is also the luxury that Greg Marshall has to roll Ron Baker, who's also a cerebral presence on the floor, to take over point guard duties when Fred VanVleet goes out of the game.
And we'll have a foul away from the ball. A 3-second violation called as we go to timeout. 11:49 to go. Shocker Nation loves what they see so far. Largest lead of the game for Wichita State by 12.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by 5 Hour Energy. Focus is the feeling of clarity and alertness. It's the feeling you get from 5 Hour Energy. And in part by Audi, truth in engineering. You're watching ESPN's Bracket Builder Week.
When goals are set, then surpassed, what is next? When history is sought after, then seized, what remains? For these Wichita State Shockers, there is but one final challenge to overcome: to finish what they started, to be, for now and all time, undefeated. And we welcome you to Saturday Showcase, presented by 5 Hour Energy, part of Bracket Builder Week, and also today's game, part of ESPN's Journey to the Tourney, presented by Sonic, a season-long spotlight on games that will impact the tournament. We're in Wichita, Kansas, the epicenter of college basketball, as the Shockers look to do what no team has ever done: finish a regular season 31-0. Here's a look at the starting lineups on the floor, brought to you by Michelin. First for the visiting Missouri State Bears: Williams, Reuter, Pickens, Gully, and McCullough. It's been a tough go for those five in the early going. For Wichita State, the sophomore dynamic duo in the backcourt, VanVleet and Baker. Cotton, Early, and Kadeem Colby rounded out the first five for Wichita State.
The precision and the execution at the offensive end. 7 of 8 shooting from the floor so far for Wichita State. They are 4 for 4 inside the arc. The only miss was a 3.
Baseline jumper's good from Mavlika.
And if you want to add to that, the only miss was the first shot of the game. They are 7 for their last 7.
Missouri State's going to stay with this 2-3 zone. They're going to dare Wichita State to bang threes. They're going to surround the basket.
Early. That's his first miss from 3, but the follow is good.
Great job by Wiggins, able to get up and tip that one in.
That was Paul Lusk's greatest concern. Second chance points out of the 2-3 zone.
Out of bounds, officials confer it's going to stay Bears basketball. 10:54 to go, 20-8. Number 2 ranked Wichita State certainly didn't show any nerves coming out of the gates on senior day in front of another packed house in the Roundhouse in Wichita. They've been clicking on all cylinders. Nice set play, but McCullough can't finish at the rim.
He's got to finish that one. If you have any chance to win on the road, you have to be able to complete that. That is a point-blank layup.
Got to make bunnies.
Wiggins, deep 3. He'll come up short. Carter, the offensive board. Another miss, but Carter gets it again. Early had it knocked out of his hands, out of bounds, and we're going the other way. Well, Paul Lusk has to like that defensive effort. His team has no quit in it. When you talk about toughness, this team epitomizes toughness. They're 19-10, a chance for 20 wins. And Paul Lusk, one of the great young coaches in basketball, 42 years old in his 3rd season at Missouri State.
A 7-year assistant at Purdue. That means Gene Katie tough. Enough said.
There for so many of the great runs for Coach Painter. So they had a team that was decimated by injuries, could have had maybe a chance to win a national championship when Robbie Hummel went down. This team this year from Missouri State, they never were able to get on track because of too many injuries.
Yeah, and you talk about injuries. The key one came the last time these two teams played. Marcus Marshall injured his knee late in that game during Wichita State's comeback. He's out the rest of the season. He was their top scorer, Mark.
He had 15 points in that game, and Missouri State had that 19-point lead. Over the last 5 minutes when he hurt his knee, he still played, only scored 3 points the rest of the way.
Here's Reuter's first 3 attempt. Too strong, rebound, Colby. Van Vliet. A finalist for the Naismith Award, handed to the best player in the country, deservedly so. Van Vliet on cue.
What a soft touch.
We've seen his ability already, court awareness, how to see the floor. He also has that innate ability to know when they need to score.
Van Vliet has 2 points, 2 assists, no turnovers in the first half of the first half. Mavwika trying to go through the entire Shocker defense. Here's Gully. Off to the right, Colby, another rebound.
Colby and Carter dominating the glass right now.
Inside. Blocked by McCullough, they'll whistle the foul. Darius Carter's going to go to the line and shoot 2, a 6'7" junior out of Akron, Ohio.
Sean, a lot of discussion about Wichita State and how they match up with power conference teams. When you talk about Darius Carter, Kadeem Colby, and Shadrach Lufiel, they've got 15 fouls to give in the post, and they're all athletic and long. How did they match up with other teams you've seen this year?
Well, what impresses me is their team awareness. It's like on that last possession, Coach, defensively, looking at Wichita State, how they collapse to the ball, and yet they're able to still recover, still close out, still force contested shots. It's the overall awareness of the team defense. You know, you look at a guy like Van Vliet, small in stature, yet there's been numerous games this year where he's had 8 rebounds. Coming back and trying to make a difference for his team. That's where the Shockers have got to get it done, because there are teams that are stronger, a little bit taller, and more athletic than even what Wichita State has.
Under 9 minutes to go in the first half. Here's Devin Thomas running the point for the Bears.
Nice split.
Left hand, Thomas. And that's another bright spot for Paul Lusk's club. He loves the freshman point guard, Devin Thomas.
And that lefty is so quick. That's how he split that double team. He exploded through the 2 defenders.
8:34 to go, foul on the play. Let's welcome in the 4th member of our broadcast team, Holly Rowe. Holly?
Well, when you look at the number 31-0, that can be a little bit intimidating in the course of history. But for Greg Marshall, one of the things he's done with his team this year is to break it into smaller segments. At first, they focused on just getting to 10-0, the best start in program history. Then he had the image of 20 for Barry Sanders, who's from Wichita. He used that imagery with his team to just get to 20-0. Then he set his sights on 29-0, using the B-29 bomber as an example that the people here in Wichita built in the winter during World War II to get things going. He's found that by breaking this season and this run that's remarkable into smaller, manageable segments, his team has been able to latch onto it, stay in the moment, just like the good people of Wichita.
A master of motivation, Mark.
I was in the locker room before the game, and I heard the story around the number 31, and it was very simple. He said 31 is our number. 31 is today. This is our moment. This is our time. 31 is our number.
And I think that's the big story here, guys. You know, we can talk about strength of schedule. We can talk about where they rank as far as, you know, non-conference strength of schedule at 50, what this conference has given them as far as not being tested against other NCAA tournament teams. But the reality is this team has answered the call every single time it has stepped on the court. Down 18 against Missouri State at the half. They responded and played superb basketball, catalyst at the defensive end in their toughness.
Fight for the loose ball between Cotton and Gully, and it's going to be possession arrow going to Missouri State. But the crowd loves it anyway, as they well should. Ron Baker checks back in. Wiggins takes a seat on the bench. Full court pressure from the Shockers.
Missouri State needed Wichita State to be distracted today. I don't see any distractions. This team is executed.
Here's Reuter. 0 for the field so far. Rare second chance opportunity for Missouri State. Mavwika tried to get it to Kirk, but Kirk wasn't expecting the pass. 7:45 to go, largest lead of the game. The Shockers looking to close the books on an undefeated regular season.
The coach here with a studio update. A big day across college basketball. Memphis looking for the sweep of Louisville this year. Chris Crawford bangs a three. Right now they're up by 5 at home, guys. We'll be here all afternoon. Back to you, Wichita.
Thanks a lot. Saturday Showcase presented by 5 Hour Energy. We're at the center of college basketball where Greg Marshall and his Shockers looking to go 31-0, and here is how the head coach tried to motivate the team before the game.
From now on, if we take care of our business today, we will have a special number attached to us, 31. The first, the only team to ever go 31-0 and have a perfect regular season. That's what you're shooting for today, to have that number attached to you.
Well, so far they've hung it on Missouri State in the early going. The Shockers are playing on all cylinders. 7:40 to go. They're up 15, 25-10.
I think where Wichita State differentiates themselves is their two-point game on the offensive end. They score in the paint. They score just like that. They're now 7 for 10 from inside the arc in the first half.
Somewhat of a lost art. You do a lot of ACC, a lot of Big Ten games. It seems like it's all dunks and three-point shots.
Well, I mean, the best teams in the country are able to work that mid-range game. And Wichita State is one of those teams that is in the discussion when you talk about top-tier teams in college basketball this year.
Their top 6 scorers all shoot over 50 from inside the arc. That's impressive.
Gully short on the 3. Here's Van Vliet. Baker leaves it for Early.
The ability to score in all 3 phases. In the paint, back to the basket, your mid-range shot, and then shooters from the outside. Wichita State has all 3 of those positions on lockdown.
That's why they're better than last year.
Here's Pickens to the hole. Missed it. Looked like it went off his foot, but they're going to say it's Missouri State basketball.
And that one clearly went off the foot and should be going in the opposite direction.
And Marquise Pickens is quite a story in and of itself, seemingly put together with duct tape and chicken wire.
Yeah, he's got my body, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah. And they reversed the call. It's the right call to reverse.
We said on the first initial look at it, it looked like it went off Pickens' foot, and indeed it did.
Yeah, Pickens playing with a stress fracture, #1 in maroon today. He walks around with a boot all day long until basketball practice comes along. He rarely practices. He's got a bad back. He's worked through injuries to the point where he actually retired after his junior season and came back.
Much needed presence for Missouri State considering the loss of Marshall. Gully took it away from Colby. Gully loves to drive it, got the foul. And Jamar Gully will go to the line and shoot 2, averaging over 16 points a game in conference.
Well, and 6 double-doubles in conference play as well, and he is just a go-getter. Bull in a china shop, he wants the ball, whether it's at the offensive glass or that time via the steal. He has 16 offensive rebounds in the last 4 games alone, so you have to account for where he is on the floor. And we see the numbers that he had last time against Wichita State.
That's 3 points now for the senior out of Beaumont, Texas, and Shadrach Lufiel will check in. Kadeem Colby goes to the bench. That rotation of big men has been working well this afternoon.
Rich, when Marcus Marshall went down with the injury right after the Wichita State game, the key to their success has been number 5, Jamar Gully. He's been tremendous for Missouri State.
Leading the team in scoring and rebounding. Got those 2 free throws to bring it to within 15. Van Vliet left it for Lufiel. And a whistle on the floor.
Well, I love what Greg Marshall did there against the pressure and understanding that they're going to try to trap the pressure. He didn't put Fred Van Vliet in an opportunity to get the ball in the backcourt. Instead, he utilized him in the center of the court. So as you came to trap, you were basically opening up an area where Fred Van Vliet could get his hands on the ball, turn and face, and have an immediate numbers advantage.
That was the 8th Missouri State foul. Later today, we bring you more from Bracket Builder Week as teams look to improve their resumes. At 6, an SEC battle between the Wildcats and South Carolina. Then at 9, Saturday primetime as Andrew Wiggins leads the Jayhawks against Marcus Smart and the Cowboys. Saturday primetime presented by DirecTV, part of Bracket Builder Week. If there's been one weak spot so far for Wichita State, it's been at the free throw line.
Uncharacteristic, too, when you look at their numbers on the season, 74% from the free throw line.
Inside, Early had it taken away by Gully.
Boy, good help on the backside. Toughness by number 5, Jamar Gully.
Nice spin move on the other end, but the left hand comes up empty. Wichita State's offense has been sputtering the last few possessions.
They haven't been get as many second chance points. Their early offense was just go throw it up and go get it.
Cotton too strong. And another one and done. And Gully came down, looked like with a twisted ankle.
I think he got rolled up on. I think got rolled up on by his teammate who was on the floor. And remember, he came back from an ACL injury to his right knee.
And we got an offensive foul. We're going the other way. Let's take a look.
Watch the bottom of your screen. His teammate literally rolls right into the back. His ankle. It was his ankle, it looks like, when he got extended down a little bit.
Gully's going to have to check out. That's bad news for Paul Lusk and company, top scorer on the team.
Well, the good news is he's not even getting looked at by a trainer. Yeah. So you anticipate that he's fine and he's going to be coming back, because if it was a serious injury that could keep him out for any extended period of time in this game, the trainer would be looking at him.
He's the kind of kid that would wave off the trainer.
Like you did yesterday to me at practice. I was like, Coach, can we talk? And you just waved me off. I appreciate it, though, Coach.
You were scoring.
Early worked his way from the mid-post into the paint and will go to the line for his efforts.
This is what I love about Cleanthony Early. You can invert him. He can face up, make the 3, but he's got the flexibility in his offensive game to put him down the block, and he's become such more physical. He was a touch-me-not last season. He's a lot more physical this season.
Let's get to Holly Rowe. Holly?
Well, Cleanthony Early is an interesting story. He grew up in Middletown, New York. He went to a prep school, and that's when a coach here at Wichita State first saw him for the first time, Greg Heyer. He took a picture of him in prep school, and then later, Cleanthony went to Sullivan Junior College in a tiny town called Loch Shelrigg, New York. But Greg Heyer kept in touch with him. He sent his mother the picture and said, hey, I've had my eye on your son since he was in prep school. That really impressed Cleanthony and his mom, Sandra. They decided to come here to Wichita State, and now for the senior, he's had a great career.
It's been a short one, Holly, only 2 years, but a memorable 2 at that. Here's Thurman, spin move, baseline, no good. The rebound to Carter. Early leading the way with 9 points in the first half. 4 minutes to go.
Early working the block hard. He wants it. They give it to him.
Nice look from Baker, and Early finishes.
Their two-point efficiency is off the charts.
It's timeout, Missouri State. Cleanthony Early has led the way. He's the first player in double digits with 11.
As Mark was talking about his ability to stretch you from the outside, we've seen that twice.
Cleanthony Early, bang!
Cleanthony Early leading all scorers with 11. Now let's take a look at Wendy's Wooden Watch, and Cleanthony is certainly on that watch list. He has been from the beginning of the season, Sean.
Well, Mark was talking about his versatility, go inside or out. You see the efficiency at the free throw line. His rebound numbers skewed a little bit at 5.9. He's had some huge games, and then he's had other games where he hasn't rebounded the ball very well.
A near turnover as Anthony almost got the steal in the backcourt, but he's going to get whistled for the foul. And a good show of sportsmanship between Early and Keith Pickens there. There's a lot of respect between these two teams. 3:46 to go. Wichita State about 23 minutes and 46 seconds away from perfection.
The coach here in studio coming up with the Mazda halftime report. Oh, McCronin going nuts this afternoon. We'll tell you what that was all about as Cincinnati took on UConn. And also Louisville and Memphis in a good one. Down south. Bruce Pearl is standing here ready to talk. We'll see you guys in just a couple of minutes.
All right, look forward to that, guys. And, of course, Louisville, the last team to beat these Wichita State Shockers last year in the Final Four. 3:46 to go. Shockers up 31-12. Let's take a look at one of the ways Shockers do things so well.
Watch Cleanthony Early. This is textbook work in the post. You try to establish your position early. Now you've got him pinned. He's working hard defensively. As the ball gets rotated across, Cleanthony Early rotates across, continues to show a target hand, and able to finish. Any young post player should watch that possession alone and see how you post up down deep and maintain position.
And this is why this team is better than a year ago, because of the efficiency of the top 6 scorers. There you see all of them over 50% from inside the arc. They are a throwback team.
And that kind of dovetails into what we like to call angry points. They're 14-6 in the paint right now against Missouri State.
They're plus 13 overall in the play angry points category. Second chance points, points off turnovers, points in the paint, plus 13.
Baseline jumper too strong from Thurman. Second chance for the Bears. Here's Mavwika off the mark from the baseline. Another rebound for Carter.
One and done.
5 rebounds for number 12 in white, Darius Carter. Carter trapped on the other end.
With the ball movement. That's so smart when the ball goes low to reverse it quickly.
Carter gets it, and he'll go to the line and shoot 2. Talk about efficient offenses. That's Wichita State in a nutshell. Let's go to Holly Rowe for more.
But, you know, we keep talking to the Wichita State players about what makes this team so special on the verge of history today. And they said, we really love each other. We are really an unselfish team. Nick Wiggins said, I've been on teams before with selfish players, and no one on this team is selfish. All you have to do is look at a stat sheet today, guys. 9-1 in assists. They already have 9 assists here in this first half with 2 minutes left to play. They find each other on the court. They don't just talk that they're a close team. They play like they're a close team.
And Holly, to me, it's about respect. And this team has respect not only for each other, 1 through 15, but they also have respect for the managers, the chaplain, the assistant coaches, and the head coaches. And that starts with Greg Marshall. And the way that he has approached this team all season long, and understanding that they are family. Every time they break huddle, they say family. They've played like that when they step between these lines.
And 9 assists defines that. They only had 8 assists in the near loss at Missouri State.
Mavwika, athletic move from Ron Mavwika. He has 7 points, a chance to make it 8. That loss for Missouri State in overtime to Wichita State back in Springfield. That was on January 11th. And guys, that was really the only test that the Shockers have faced this Missouri Valley Conference schedule.
But what a difference in first halves. The game there versus the game here. Wichita State was held to just 36% shooting from the floor in the first half of that game. Right now they're shooting 58% in the first half of this one.
Let's not forget that Marcus Marshall not available because of the knee injury he suffered in that game. I saw him hang 30 on Wichita State last year during Arch Madness. That kid makes a big difference for this basketball team.
Down 18 right now with 2:18 to go. Trying to somehow hang in here in a hostile environment with more history on the line with the Wichita State Shockers.
It's handling that environment. We've touched so much on Wichita State handling this environment. It's also Missouri State. You know, they know what's going on with Wichita State. They know where they're ranked nationally. They know the environment that they're walking into and that they're walking into it shorthanded. And so far in the first half, Wichita State has dictated the tempo, the flow of this game at both ends of the court.
Baker, an 85% free throw shooter. His first trip to the line knocks it down, and he has 8 points. Early and Van Vliet to the bench. Kadeem Colby is going to check in along with Tequil Cotton.
That's a sweet stroke right there. He's made a three-point shot in every game but one. Northern Iowa shutting down. Other than that, he's the Kyle Korver of the Missouri Valley. And oh, by the way, Korver played for Creighton in the Missouri Valley.
And I love what Ron Baker likes to say in previous interviews. He said, I do everything angry. I don't just play angry. I like to be nice angry.
He is nice. Very cordial.
Inside, McCullough. Freshman's got 2.
He's going to be good. It's just going to take some time. But watch for Tyler McCullough, number 50 in the room today. He's got a big upside.
To me, it's like when you go look at a house, and sometimes you know you need to fix it up a little bit. But the bones and the structure is there to make it a great home for your family. That's what McCullough is like right now for Missouri State. The bone and the structure is there. He just needs to be more consistent.
Wiggins off the mark. Here comes Thomas for the Bears. Transition 3, Shear. Around and out. And Carter snares another rebound. That's his 6th. Timeout, Greg Marshall in Wichita State with 1:29 to go. Wichita State an 18-point lead, 35-17, and they've certainly answered the bell, and maybe in turn they're going to answer some critics in their final regular season home game.
The critics are going to remain, and with somewhat deservedly so when you look at the schedule. I mean, people want to talk about the schedule. That's fine. You can talk about the fact that 50th in the non-conference, now the conference hasn't really helped them prepare, and part of that problem, Coach, is the team that they beat a year ago, the Gonzaga Bulldogs, who ascended to #1 in the Associated Press poll and then got knocked out in the second round by these Wichita State Shockers. So there's recent memory of a team that had a great regular season from a non-traditional power conference and then gone into the NCAA tournament. I think this team is different, though.
All the fans out there, if your team went to the Final Four, raise your hand. Raise your hand if you're now 30-0. There are no other hands. It's Wichita State. They've beaten everybody on their schedule. Tennessee played them. Alabama played them. St. Louis played them. And don't discount the win over Davidson, and dare I say even North Carolina Central. Remember, that is a conference that has produced Norfolk State to beat Missouri in the NCAA tournament.
Talking about the MEAC.
But I think what the skeptics look at, and just looking at the different perspective from Coach, is the fact that you look at power conferences, teams in the Big Ten, and the grind that you go through night in and night out, the consistency of seeing those teams. You go to the ACC, you see the exact same thing. Now, the question isn't whether or not they deserve a 1 seed. Ken Pomeroy wrote a great article about Wichita State earlier this week. The question shouldn't be about whether or not they deserve a 1 seed. They'll get one if they go undefeated here and then go on to win this game and then win the conference tournament. It's not whether or not their schedule's strong enough. The question becomes, is this team good enough to win 6 consecutive games? is this team good enough and talented to win a national championship?
They've done that 5 times over.
And I'll tell you what, but it's different, Coach. It's different in the NCAA tournament. Environments are different. You're not on your home floor. But I believe that this team is good enough to win 6 games in a row in March.
Let me tell you what's different. Non-conference Power 6, when you played at UCLA, you played 84% of your games either at home or on a neutral site. Of the top 8 teams in the top 10 from power conferences, they played 86% of their games at home or on a neutral site. The RPI and the BPI are slanted towards scheduling. And every scheduling type of algorithm you look at is positive toward the power conferences.
No
Plain
question.
and simple.
No,
it's all slanted
there's no
in that
debate.
favor. What these guys have done can't be discounted that way.
No, and it shouldn't be. And that's why I say, are they good enough to win 6 games in a row in the tournament? Yes, they are. And I'll also say this, talking to some power conference coaches during the week in preparation for this game, I asked a couple, would you go 2 for 1? Would you come to Wichita State?
They wouldn't.
And they said no. All of them said, no, we're not making that. We're not making that trip. We're not doing the 2 for 1.
Well, we'll take a pause from our debate. And in basketball on the floor,
come on,
there was a Missouri State turnover.
You have to pull a Dave Pasch and say, now back to the game.
Right. I think that's reserved for Bill Walton.
Did we just get compared to Bill Walton? I think we did.
It wouldn't be a bad person to be compared to.
No.
Going to have a Wichita State foul, and it's going the other way.
Well, but the skeptics will be out there, and it will continue to be out there. And every win they get from here until the start of the NCAA tournament, more and more people will start to question how this team can perform in the big setting on the big stage. As Coach mentioned, 7 of their top 9 returned from last year's NCAA tournament team that went to the Final Four. They have experience. They understand how to make that quick turnaround from a Thursday to a Saturday or a Friday to a Sunday.
If Michigan State went to the Final Four and had 7 out of their top 9 players coming back, would they be number 18 in the preseason? There's no way on God's green earth. There's no way. This team has earned their ranking, and I think they're the best team in the country.
And while the officials are explaining the latest whistle, Greg Marshall taking that opportunity for some situational substitution. I think that might be one of the underrated facets of this Shockers team, is that they are relatively a deep team, somewhat interchangeable parts, Mark.
Well, you have Nick Wiggins that could come off the bench. You've got Evan Wessel, who's a real fine role player. You've got the 3-headed monster in the post between Darius Carter, Kadeem Colby, and Shadrack Leafield. This is a deep basketball team that knows their roles.
5-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock. 30 seconds to go in the half. On the shot clock. Gully in the lane. Beautiful up and under from Jamar Gully.
He got fouled. No call.
No call, and the ball's out of bounds with 1.6 left.
From Baker looked at the official and said foul, and the official looked right back at him and said no foul.
Yeah, in real time, it looked like there could have been contact.
Well, with that much time on the clock, he was probably looking for contact.
Could have taken at least one more dribble.
Thomas from half court. No good. And the second-ranked, undefeated Wichita State Shockers go to halftime leading 39-18. They flipped the script from the last time these two teams met on January 11th when the Bears led by 18 at the half. Here's Holly with Greg Marshall.
Well, Coach Marshall, you called this the epicenter of college basketball, but what have you liked in this first half about the focus that your team has shown?
Well, I thought the defense was really good until we gave up an easy screen and roll and then lost a check out on the free throw line, Holly. We were holding them in the teens for the better part of the half, so that's been a really good part of our game.
When you go into the locker room right now, given this big lead you had, what details will you ask them to focus on in the second half?
Well, things like that. If they don't score 39 points, they can't win. Okay, so we've got to defend the screen and roll, the pick and pop. We've got to do a better job on the second shots on the free throw line, and then we've got to make sure we get great looks down there. We're getting whatever we want if we have a little patience.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.
Good stuff.
Wichita State 39, Missouri State 21. Studio show after this.
Oh, it's the studio show right now, my friend. It's time for the Mazda Halftime Report over on ESPN2. Let's start there. Pittsburgh and Notre Dame. And early on, Bruce Pearl, Eric Atkins to Pat Connaughton.
Connaughton, he can pitch a fastball, and he can shoot the 3-ball from deep.
And apparently he can also drive the lane.
Yeah, that's a great, tough 2. Good, strong finish.
These are 2 teams that right now need a strong finish to their regular seasons, especially Notre Dame. Right now, Pittsburgh certainly a tournament team. Notre Dame up by 4. Again, that game over on ESPN2. Well, welcome into the studio. He is Bruce Pearl, Jonathan Coachman, and we wondered, Bruce, how Wichita State would respond to the pressure. Locally, that people are just loving everything that 30-0 brings, but now you got all the national attention. It looks like in the first half they've done okay.
Coach, they had all the national attention last year when they got all the way to the Final Four. These guys aren't going to change. They're mutts. They play with a chip on their shoulder. They play for every dude that didn't get recruited at the high major level. And like Greg Marshall talked about, they're focusing on getting better, worrying about defense and rebounding, not worrying about the scoreboard.
This is a team in Missouri State that led by double figures with 12 minutes to go in the first game this year, and they just got blitzed in the first half. And I love what Greg Marshall said. If they don't score 39, they can't win the basketball game.
No, they're focusing on the things they need to improve on. This is an offensive team in Wichita State that's probably better and more polished than their team last year. The question is what happens when they go up against a real physical team in the NCAA tournament.
We'll talk about that a little bit later, but first on the Mazda Halftime Report, how about UConn and Cincinnati? Mick Cronin going bonkers. Wait until you see this next.
Welcome back to the Mazda Halftime Report.
Hey, Bruce Pearl, the coach, back with you. Cincinnati, UConn, our first game here on ESPN. And what an emotional scene between these 2 teams. Early on, Sean Kilpatrick, he had 5 straight games of 20-plus snap today. He only had 16.
You got to get out there and guard him from 3. He is one of the best offensive players in the American Conference.
Later in the first half, tied at 15. Near the points were hard to come by today.
They were, especially in the paint. That's why it was important for UConn to knock down a couple of triples to open up the lane.
A lot of people think Shabazz Napier will be the conference player of the year. 6 double-double of the season, 18 and 11.
A double-double. He had 11 rebounds. The next closest UConn player, 4.
Now take me through what happened here. Ball goes out of bounds. UConn ball. The Cronin goes crazy.
Well, that's because Ted Valentine charged him right here. And then what happens, see, that official should never do that and challenge a coach like that. And then what happens, he gives him all kinds of latitude, no technical foul.
All right, so later in the second, UConn up by 7. Ryan Boatwright, the 2-handed throwdown. Huge win for UConn at home this afternoon by 6. Louisville and Memphis going on right now. Rick Pitino trying to grow that beard. He's trying his best. He's working on that beard. First half. Shaq Goodwin, great dish inside.
Love the patience by Shaq down low to Nick King.
And Montrezl Harrell, I think he may have the best hops in college hoops.
Best big man in the American Conference. Really important to Louisville.
Then still in the first, Memphis, they're trying to sweep Louisville this year. They're up by 6. That game right now is at the half. Our next game here on ESPN, a big one. Tyler Ennis, Syracuse on the road against Virginia. They're calling it the biggest game in Charlottesville in decades.
It is because they haven't won the ACC championship since Ralph Sampson played ball.
It's been a while. Syracuse right now, they certainly have. I guess to say they have struggled offensively would be an understatement, but they have.
Well, no question, struggled.
Yes, that's the question. So what do they need to do today against a team like Virginia whose calling card is defense?
Well, they haven't broke 62 since February 1st. Only one other team in the country joins them that, and that's Air Force.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So what they've got to do is they've got to score late in the clock in their ball screen offense with Tyler Ennis. Now, they know full and well that what Virginia's going to do is they're going to blitz that ball screen, double that ball screen, hedge that ball screen. So what I would watch Tyler Ennis do is try not to use that ball screen. He knows he's going to get doubled in here. So rather than taking it right to the middle, he's going to make the defense think that's where he's going to go, cross over, go find himself some open real estate to get the open jump shot. And then the other key factor is Trevor Cooney. He's 3 for 13 from the field and 1 for 9 from 3 in their 2 losses. They got to get him open looks. So get him down to the bottom. Let him go left. Let him go right. Here he goes left around the curl, an open look. If you can give Trevor Cooney clean looks and you can get Tyler Ennis open and ball screen, they can score some points. First to 50 wins this game.
All right, let me ask you this. Joe Lunardi says that if they lose this game today, Syracuse, they could be in danger of falling off the 1 line. If you're Jim Boeheim, are you concerned about that?
If they lose this game, they lose the ACC championship, and that's the only thing Jim Boeheim is concerned about. His first time in the ACC, he's got a chance to win Mike Krzyzewski's league. That means a great deal to him. Same thing means a tremendous amount to Virginia. These guys are not playing for seeding. They're playing for championships.
There's a lot of people on Twitter that are Virginia fans that get on us day after day, week after week. What about us? Well, today you've got a primetime 4 Eastern game right here on ESPN and a chance to beat Syracuse. So we're saying here you go on a silver platter for all you Virginia fans. Ron Baker, he's got 9 for the Shockers, 20 minutes away from regular season perfection.
This halftime report is presented by Mazda. Conviction, creativity, courage. This is the Mazda way. This halftime report is presented by Mazda. Conviction, creativity, courage. This is the Mazda way.
All right, welcome back. Cleanthony Early. He leads all scorers with 13. The Shockers rolling in halftime. They're up by 18 over Missouri State. Welcome back in. Quickly, Bruce Pearl, when you talk about Wichita State as a #1 seed, you saw them earlier this week in person against Bradley. Are there concerns for you as a #1 seed?
Not offensively, but I do have a concern about defense. I think a #1 seed has got to go up against the 8-9 matchup, the same matchup that Wichita State beat Gonzaga in last year. Has the Missouri Valley Conference, which is weak this year, gotten the Shockers ready for a physical matchup. That's the one matchup that could bother them, and that's going to be interesting. When I see that matchup, that might be an upset I'll pick, but I got to see it first.
Right, that's the question then. Have they been properly prepared in conference now that Creighton has left? And they didn't get those 2 games this year.
It is a Creightonless Missouri Valley Conference. No, they have no way they've had the same level of preparation of a lot of these other conferences. So that would be my only concern about the Shockers moving forward.
All right, we are officially into March. And one of the teams that Wichita State beat earlier this year, Tennessee. Joe Lunardi has them on the last 4 in line. Apparently, they want to be more than that. They crushed Vandy today. And I mean crushed them. They doubled them up. 76-38.
That's the largest margin in the history of that rivalry.
Wow, ugly. Well, we've got a second half coming. Shocker fans, enjoy. We'll see you later.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Experience truly great engineering today at your authorized dealer.
And we welcome you back to Saturday Showcase presented by 5 Hour Energy, part of Bracket Builder Week here on ESPN. Today's game, part of ESPN's Journey to the Tourney, presented by Sonic, a season-long spotlight on games that will impact the tournament. The Wichita State Shockers now 20 minutes away from perfection in their home court, the final home and regular season game of this 2013-2014 season. Alongside Mark Adams and Sean Farnham, I'm Rich Hollenberg. They have executed on every level in the first half, but you were impressed, Sean, defensively with the Shockers.
I think that's always where you have to start when you talk about Wichita State, is their commitment to the defensive end of the floor, the ability to disrupt your opponent. Take away option 1, take away option 2. The numbers support it. When you look at the first half, 0 for 7 from beyond the arc. They shot as a team just 29.6% because of that stout defense that they've been able to play in the first half.
Let's go inside the play, Mark.
Fred VanVleet and the look off from the point guard. It's about having vision and selling a play. And Fred VanVleet does it as well as anybody for Shadrach Lufil inside. Just watch his eyes and his body position. Right there's the screen. He sells the screen by looking left as Cleanthony Early sets the on-ball screen. Look at all 3 defenders watching VanVleet. They get his attention. He delivers it on the money to Shadrach Lufil. That's the look-off. That's the vision of what I feel is the best point guard in America, Fred VanVleet.
Wichita State 9 assists on their 12 field goals. Missouri State, who normally comes in shooting 36.8% from 3, 0 for 7 in the first half.
Well, Missouri State, too, came into this contest beating Loyola of Chicago 72-56. They shot 48% from the field in that game. So they're trailing 20 percentage points so far in this game, and they haven't been able to get points in the paint that they are accustomed to getting.
Colby missed the follower close range, but Baker came away with the offensive rebound.
See how Greg Marshall came out with the backdoor lob for the dunk there? He was going for the knockout punch right now.
Just as effective, though, that mid-range shot that Coach Adams has mentioned time and time again over the course of this season, and in particular today, the efficiency inside the arc. That time, Cleanthony Early spaces out and knocks down the jump shot.
20 points, the largest lead of the game in the opening minute of the second half. Here's Gully. Got fouled, and Jamar Gully will go to the line. Let's take a look at our first half stats, brought to you by Mazda. We talked about the assists, but Wichita State has the edge in rebounds as well.
More aggressive in every phase of the game. That's the differential in the field goal percentage, the rebounding margin, as well as the assist, the unselfishness that we've seen that Holly talked about in the first half, the respect for one another.
Gully misses the free throw. He had 8 points in the first half, and that led the Bears in scoring. But they're going to need a lot more from Jamar Gully and everyone else if they're going to climb this mountain on the road. Gully 1 for 2. It's a 19-point Shockers lead with the basketball. Here's Cotton, who was held scoreless in the first half. Extra pass, Colby.
Oh, I get excited when I see that. Great ball movement, big on big interior passing. Coach, that's execution so precise in the half-court set for the Shockers.
That's why they dominate inside the arc.
Here's Gully for 3. Yes. Silences the crowd, if only temporarily.
Every team needs a guy that tells the crowd to sit down and shut up. And Jamar Gully's that guy from Missouri State. I love his toughness.
Whistle on the floor.
Well, you look at the interior passing. Watch how quick the ball reversal is. They get it from one side of the floor. You set the screen, you space out, you're able to get it underneath. My kids love the Lego movie. The song in that movie is Everything is Awesome. And right now for the Shockers, everything is awesome.
Lego? The Lego movie. That's got to be the first time in college basketball history we've heard Legos and basketball at the same time.
You got to take Robbie, Coach.
#1 movie in the country, Coach.
I'm in. I'm all in. I love Legos.
Highly recommended.
Love it.
2 minutes gone by. 18-point lead for the Shockers. Ran into a wall, and Cotton came away with it. Loose ball, Missouri State. McCullough met at the rim by Carter. Here's Reuter. And Reuter picks up the trash.
That's the toughness of Missouri State. This team competes. Really physical inside. Darius Carter and Tyler McCullough are having a wrestling match in the paint.
Cotton all alone. Too easy for Tequil Cotton. His first points of the game come from beyond the arc.
Every team has an X factor. I think Tequil Cotton was that X factor. He's what makes them a Final Four team and eventually a potential national champion when he produces.
Let's go to Holly Rowe. Holly?
Well, I caught up with Missouri State coach Paul Lusk at halftime, and he said he's making a change in this starting lineup here in the second half. He's going to put Jamar Gully, #5, at the 4 spot. He was so productive in the first half. He said, we just didn't get any post-production. We're going to go with a smaller lineup and see if he can help us. He's got 9 points. He's been the most active player so far. We'll see if he can hold his own in there with the big guys. But he also popped out and hit a 3 from that 4 spot.
Well, and Gully was the big part of why Missouri State was plus 24 in points in the paint against Loyola of Chicago.
Nice feed inside, and McCullough collects 2 more points.
Watch what happens as he grows. That pass is going to lead to a monstrous dunk.
Yep.
Not a soft floater going away from the rim on a layup attempt.
Time's on his side because he's only a freshman.
Yep.
Let it be noted here on this day that Missouri State next year and for the next couple of years, Mark, are going to be a force to be reckoned with in the Valley with 3 key players that get a lot of time now as freshmen.
And Marcus Marshall, who's sitting out this year as a sophomore. I'd like to see the NCAA give him a red shirt. He's actually over the limit on games played, but he played injured in between a lot of those injuries that he had. I hope he gets a red shirt here. He deserves it. Ball movement, spacing.
Too strong from Cotton. Here comes Dorian Williams. Blocked again. Shockers average over 5 blocks a game. Gully, the spin move. Fred VanVleet covered his ears. I don't think it was because the Shocker faithful were too loud for him, though.
Fred VanVleet is completely surrounded, but as he dribbles, his head is up, and that's good news for Shocker fans. Ron Baker.
ESPN's Journey to the Tourney features an ACC showdown when Marcus Page and the Tar Heels take on Jabari Parker and the Blue Devils. The Journey to the Tourney, North Carolina Duke, next Saturday at 9 on ESPN. Also live on Watch ESPN. Marcus Page helped the Heels pull one out this past week against North Carolina State, but the Devils, Sean, have revenge on their minds.
They do have revenge on their minds. Remember, that was a game that they had to reschedule. They played in between. Syracuse was right afterwards for Duke. Duke has got to be able to bounce back and get this one at home, but Carolina playing so much better right now, in large part because of Marcus Page. He is so good at going either way, getting his feet set to be able to elevate up for a quick shot or put it down and attack the iron like we saw the other night when he exploded against North Carolina State.
And, of course, a big ACC showdown coming up immediately following our game, Syracuse and Charlottesville against Virginia.
We talk about point guards, 2 great guards in that game. When you talk about Tyler Ennis, having an outstanding freshman year, leading the ACC in steals, and then London Perantes, under-the-radar point guard. He is the one that has got this offense flowing for Virginia. He's been a great find for Tony Bennett.
When you look at Tyler Ennis and what he's done to lead Syracuse in the #1 ranking, T.J. McConnell put Arizona in position. I mean, those are 2 guys that made, at the point guard position, made just serious progress with their teams this year.
Baker short on the 3.
And, Coach, you put Perantes in that as well. When you look at how hot Virginia's been, last 3 games, only 1 turnover in the ACC. He's played over 30 minutes in every single one of those games and 11 of 15 shooting during that stretch. He is key tonight.
Let's not forget Scotty Robikin as well.
Yep.
Led Florida to the #1 ranking.
Well, the Gators, I love the way that Billy Donovan's team plays.
There's Gully off the mark, offensive rebound, McCullough. And a triple from Dorian Williams, his first points of the game.
Yeah, Dorian Williams is one of those guys, over 50% of his shots come from behind the arc. This is how Missouri State can hurt you.
And VanVleet gets fouled. And just to piggyback on the conversation we were just having, premier point guards in the nation, what do they all have in common? Well, that's the 4 best teams in basketball right now.
And all of them don't score a lot. They just score when needed. And you look at the assist-to-turnover ratio, Fred VanVleet is exceptional in that area, as well as free throws. He's in the mid-80s from the free throw line.
All 4 of those point guards embody the 3 characteristics that are important to be a guard. 1, do you make your teammates better? 2, do you understand time and score? And number 3, do you know when it's your time to score? Fred VanVleet does embody all 3 of those, as well as everybody else that was on that list.
He did that the first time around against the Bears, brought him back and really dominated the overtime session. They wave it off, offensive foul on the Shockers.
You've got to be able to stop. Jump stop, settle it down. It was a great idea, a great touch pass underneath. But forward momentum took Baker into the defensive player. You watch on the drive, he delivers the pass, goes right to him. That's a good call.
Yeah, tough call in a crowded space, and that's the third foul on Ron Baker.
And Jamar Gawley took it right on the chin. He is just a tough dude. He could play for Greg Marshall or anybody else. On the toughness meter, he's a 10.
They get it into Mavwika. Full court pressure from the Shockers. And they're going to get Van Vliet on the whistle.
That foul was caused, though, because Wichita State allowed them to split the double team. If you're going to bring the double team, you have to go shoulder to shoulder, body to body, and make sure you do not allow the step through. Watch the step through here. You got him double teamed, you let him step through, now you expose your secondary defense, and on the quick ball rotation, Fred Van Vliet was caught.
And Mark, it sounds silly to say it's panic time, up 17, but Greg Marshall's dynamic duo of sophomore guards, Baker and Van Vliet, both with 3 fouls.
And now Tequil Cotton, the best defender in the Valley. He can defend at the point. It's a matter, can he make the decisions on the offensive end?
Here's Thomas, left hand. Wessel, the rebound.
If Missouri State's going to make their move, it has to be right now.
13:50 to go. Cotton, strong, and one.
You talk about the depth of this team, Rich. You mentioned it in the first half. No Early, no Baker, no Van Vliet out on the floor. Still patient in their half-court set, spaced it out perfectly, and then the good, strong move to the iron.
Mark, X factor?
Definitely an X factor. He's the biggest key for this basketball team in the NCAA tournament. The last 8 games, Tequil Cotton has scored almost 14 points a game, 54% overall, 45% from 3, and 17 steals. His game continues to get better and better. Number 32 in white, Tequil Cotton.
He has 6 tonight to go along with 2 assists and a rebound. The lead is back up to 20.
Look at the on-ball defense by Nick Wiggins. Really moved his feet well right there.
10 on the shot clock for the Bears. Looked like we went off a shocker. It's going to stay Missouri State basketball. 9 ticks left on the shot clock.
Austin Reuter, number 2 in maroon, rarely gets a touch. He's a deadly shooter.
1 on the shot clock. And a defensive stand by the undefeated Shockers. .13:03 to go.
And that's the differential of the guys on the bench. Coach Marshall obviously not pleased with that pass from Wessel. That pass would never have happened if it's in the hands of Baker or Van Vliet.
And Greg Marshall is incensed at number 3 in white, Evan Wessel.
And that's called a teaching moment, as I like to call it.
An intangible of these Shockers, guys. They accept coaching.
Well, there's no big ego. In fact, we talked about respect earlier. Not only do they respect each other, they respect their opponents as well.
Here's a 3. Off the mark. Carter, another rebound. Darius Carter has 8 boards this afternoon. And we've got a whistle on the floor. It's going to be on Missouri State. That's Reuter's 3rd. Cleanthony Early set to check back in for Greg Marshall. And Darius Carter with another yeoman-like effort this afternoon for the Shockers. Takes a breather on the bench. 8 points, 8 boards for Darius Carter. Cotton, errant pass. Goes out of bounds. It'll stay Wichita State basketball.
And you mentioned Carter going to the bench and how productive he's been as of late. How about the last 3 games, averaging over 12 points per game, shooting 73% from the field. I mean, that's the efficiency you're talking about. They may be a little bit smaller, undersized bigs. They are active and they're efficient, and that's exactly what Wichita State needs out of them.
And 6 blocks during that time frame as well.
12 minutes to go in the final regular season contest for the undefeated Shockers. Foul on the floor before the shot. We've got a timeout on the floor, 11:58 to go. When we come back, a night in the Roundhouse. Holly Rowe will speak to the legendary coach and will explain after this.
Welcome back to Wichita, up 52-32. Wichita State looking to make history, and I'm here with Coach Bob Knight, who is one of the last to do that, being inside of a perfect season. Coach, what is it like for you as a coach, what Greg Marshall might be going through in that moment, trying to get from game to game?
You know, Holly, I think the key is that a season is a season is a season, and you don't do anything differently you've done in any other year, except perhaps you're playing better, and you're playing better more often. So you just simply try to keep things going as they're going. But you can't get wrapped up in the fact that maybe you won't lose the game. When you start thinking like that, I always think that you forget something. You forget the defense, or you forget to block it, whatever it might be. The thing that impresses me in this game, beyond anything else, is the way that the Shockers play defensively. They play on that end of the floor maybe better than any team I've seen play all year, and that makes it so much easier for them if they're not shooting well, they're not going to the line well. If you have to win by scoring in the 80s or the low 90s, then you're going to get beat sometimes. But when you can play defense like this team does, you're going to be able to be in every ball game. And they've done a very, very good job of it, and they've been very smart to set up their defensive play as the primary part of what they do. Now, not that what they don't do at the other end. They're very good with the ball. They look for the ball. They look for people that are open. They get a lot of good things. This is a team that anybody's going to have problems with.
Coach, you were able to speak with this team yesterday. What do you hope they took away from your message?
Well, who would know? I had a good time talking to the kids and talked about a few things that I thought were important in any season. I just don't get wrapped up in this whole season without losing a game. I think you forget a lot of things when that happened. I'm not even sure that when we did that, until people started bringing out, I was aware of it. The year before that, we had played every bit as good and had lost 1 game. And actually, I probably made a mistake that year that could have enabled us to go unbeaten. I think back on that every once in a while.
What was that mistake?
Well, it takes a little bit longer to explain it to you than we've got time. I didn't make the right kind of change at a point where Scott May had broken his arm. And if I could change that over again, I would do that in a heartbeat. But we were good because we played well defensively, and this team is good because it really plays well defensively.
Thank you, Coach Knight.
Holly, it's a pleasure to be with somebody that understands the game.
Thank you.
I thought he was talking about Farnham for a second.
It's great to get coaches' insight, though. He understands what it's like to go in the locker room, and that's why you can't understate, as a three-point shot made, Rich, but you cannot understate the consistency of this team. All the outside distractions, social media, all the things we've talked about in college basketball this year. When this Wichita State team walks between these lines, they have found success every single night.
Blocked from behind by Kirk, but they're going to get the foul, and Shadrack Lufiel will go to the line.
I think the real comparison for Wichita State isn't Indiana. I don't think it's last year's Gonzaga team. I think it's Indiana State 1979. Indiana State only played 2 teams that went to the NCAA tournament that year. New Mexico State twice. And they should have lost at New Mexico State. Bob Heaton knocked down a 50-footer. It was a 2-pointer back then to send that game into overtime. And Larry Bird went on to play for the national title against Magic Johnson. I think this team is more like Indiana State than any other current team that I've seen from that standpoint. Everybody complains about their schedule. Indiana State had the same arguments.
Well, you know what? I'll further your point about the comparison to last year's Gonzaga team. Where's the difference? This is as Coach Knight was talking, this is a much better defensive team than the Gonzaga Bulldogs were a season ago. That doesn't diminish what Mark Few and his squad was able to accomplish. But this is a defense travels. When you go to the tournament, your defense comes with you. You're going to have off shooting nights, as Coach Knight was alluding to. But your defense and your effort, those are things that have to be mainstays and consistencies, and they have been for Coach Marshall.
And what you just saw there on that last defensive possession is the epitome of Wichita State basketball. They play defense without fouling. Only 3 players have been DQ'd this season.
Well, the fouls have been somewhat of an issue in this one. Baker, Van Vliet.
You saw Gonzaga last year.
Yes.
I saw Gonzaga last year when they were number 1. I thought they got tight. This team is only number 2. I'm not sure the voters will allow them to become number 1. I think they're going to stay hungry, and I think this is a program that's going to continue to play angry.
And you talk about a team that loves each other. Chad Lufield's only hit 1 free throw this afternoon. 1 for 7. And he had 2 players come up to him and pat him on the shoulders. Tequil Cotton gave him a little massage there, and look at this.
And the whole crowd knows it.
Make it 2 for 8 for Chadlack Lufield. And a collective groan comes up from Koch Arena.
A special environment. Around the city, the buzz that they're feeling right now, and a lane violation is going to give them another chance. But a special environment. I went to Starbucks today. Davey got me my ice blended mocha that I wanted, the mocha frappuccino, and he's wearing a Shocker shirt, not the green apron that we're accustomed to seeing at Starbucks employees.
Look at Lufield. Gets his own miss. Scramble for the ball, and Gully comes away with it. Something to keep mind of. Jamar Gully saddled with 4 fouls right now for Missouri State. Turnover. Lufield leading the break. They wave it off. Offensive foul. For a second there, I was going to call Chadlack Lufield Chadlack Shaquille.
Tequil Cotton gets the deflection. Look at Lufield. Leads the break right there.
But a good call on the charge. You got to have awareness. The defense is there. It's set. Elevate up. Use that glass right off the short corner and just kiss it off it.
They're calling it much differently in March than they did in November. There's no question. It's changed.
Shear, 3 off the mark. Here's Wiggins. 5 points for Nick Wiggins.
Blood is in the water. They smell undefeated season.
Partially blocked by Russell. They come away with it. 3 on 2. Early tried for the extra pass, got fouled.
Nick Wiggins with the 3-pointer afterwards. It all smiles. This team has fun. Being around them the last 2 days, guys, I know you've seen them all season long. This group really loves each other, as Holly was talking about in the first half. They have a great deal of fun.
Wiggins, who's checking out now, and Lufield have known each other since they were teenagers growing up outside Toronto. They're like brothers. The 2 of them, Cleanthony Early, they said decades from now, we'll all still be in touch with each other.
30-0 does look really fun. I've certainly never done it. 18 once, but never 30. Not even close.
Early 1 for 2. Well, he has 16.
And as anybody's ever played team sports understands, your points per game, your individual accolades are often forgotten. But the team success and the memories that you make, your legacy that you leave, is all predicated upon what you do as a unit and as a group. That's what is so wonderful about team sports.
8:20 to go, largest lead of the game, 21 for the Shockers. Looking to remain and finish undefeated. Gully, 3-pointer. That's the 4th 3-pointer of the second half for Missouri State. A sliver of silver lining since they went 0 for behind the line in the first half. 8:07 to go, 56-38. Shockers, 8:07 away from a perfect season.
I will live in the moment and appreciate what is happening right now.
Remember the past, strive for the future, keep perspective. It's all about the team. Stay humble.
Be the absolute best teammate and benefit from each other.
If you love something, anything's possible.
Well, those were all key words that team chaplain Steve Dickey emphatically asked his team to come up with at the very beginning of the season, Sean and Mark. They each chose a word, including Greg Marshall, as you just saw, and they have lived by those words this season.
They're trigger words, and they trigger a response in each player in their role to help the team to be successful. Steve Dickey gets it.
Well, this team gets it. It's the only way that this team is going to finish off this season 31-0 in the regular season, heading to the Missouri Valley Conference tournament and then the NCAA tournament, is because they truly get one another. They play with and for each other.
10 on the shot clock. Here's Baker. Rebound, McCullough.
You look around college basketball, you see guys suspended, coaches violation of team policy, all those things. Wichita State, they haven't dealt with any of those issues. When the off-the-court stuff is handled, it's amazing what can happen on the court.
Here's the freshman Thomas. Three-point attempt. And Baker takes away a rebound from Carter. That's called gang rebounding.
And that's what we touched on in the first half. You know, maybe a little undersized. How do they match up against bigger, stronger teams? They come together. They rebound the ball collectively. Baker's done that. The Shockers have done that. A big part of why they have an 18-point lead right now over Missouri State.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by 5 Hour Energy. Focus is the feeling of clarity and alertness. It's the feeling you get from 5 Hour Energy. And in part by the 2014 Mazda 3 with seamless connectivity.
All right, the coach here with a studio update. Memphis trying to sweep Louisville this season, hosting the Carters. Montrezl Harrell, a beast. Inside and one. He's got 23 right now in Louisville. Big second half so far. They're up by 2, 6.5 to play. We'll keep track of that one. Over on ESPN2, Pitt on the road. $1:17 left. They've got a 3-point lead over Notre Dame. Coming up next, biggest game of the day. I'm just going to say it. Syracuse on the road. Biggest game in Charlottesville in decades, they're calling it. Cuse, Virginia, 20 minutes from now. Boys, back to you.
Thanks, Coach. ESPN Saturday Showcase presented by 5 Hour Energy, part of Bracket Builder Week. Let's go to Holly Rowe, who's going to take a look at the smart investments that Wichita State has made.
Well, that's right. There have been some key investments in this season, but none have been more important for TD Ameritrade's investment for success than Ron Baker. He was offered 2 scholarships when he was a young player, but they were both 11 hours away from home. He's from a small community called Scott City, Kansas. He decided he wanted to be closer to his family, so he walked onto the team. He paid his own tuition, about a $5,500 investment. His mother, Renee, who taught him how to shoot, is here in the stands. And he says, you know, it was very good investment in my life. I feel like being here, having my family able to watch me play, has been very great return on his money.
Well, amazing. You look at Renee, she was texting away, but got her eyes up in time to see the missed free throw. As a mom, it's always nerve-wracking watching your son at the free throw line. But you talk about Scott City, Kansas. He received the key to the city after the Final Four run. Imagine if this team wins a national championship. He'll be named the mayor. Fred Hoiberg will have another guy have to deal with the nickname the mayor.
Well, his mom and dad both coached him, and they've done a tremendous job with that young man, Ron Baker.
We talk about a close community. He wears the area code 620 on his sneakers, as Tequil Cotton wanted to bring it up and throw it down, but he gets the foul instead.
And believe me, Rich, there aren't too many people that know 620 area code is Scott City, Kansas.
Cotton at the line, shooting 2. He's had an explosive second half after being held scoreless in the first. All 6 of his points have come in the second stanza, now 7.
Cotton almost jumped out of the area code. He is so explosive, and we haven't seen a lot of it today, but I love the way he sprints the lane out in transition And when the ball hits his hands, he does exactly what he did on that possession. He goes aggressively to the iron.
Cotton 2 for 2. He's perfect from the line this afternoon. The lead is back up to 21. 6:45 to go.
Northern Iowa knocked off Indiana State today. They have now clinched the #3 seed in the Missouri Valley Arch Madness coming up next week in St. Louis. Congratulations to Ben Jacobson and his bunch.
Gully off the mark. Van Vliet the rebound. Baker sprints down. Mark, who poses the biggest challenge to the Shockers in the Valley tournament?
You know, obviously Indiana State would be one team that you would say has a legitimate shot with Jake Odom. He'll be a first-team all-conference player. He's got great vision. And with Christian Smith coming off the bench, he scores so well. That would be the team that's laden with juniors and seniors that would have a chance to win.
With 4 on the shot clock, that is vintage Fred Van Vliet.
Vision.
10 points for Carter, largest lead of the game.
You can just see without Marcus Marshall, the offense just bogs down at times, especially against such a stingy defense like Wichita State's.
3 on the shot clock. Blocked by Carter. Early. Takes it himself and gets the bump with the bucket.
Well, the ability to react defensively. If you watch closely, there are 3 bodies around. The block shot leads to the run out early, better than late. Knocks it in and gets the opportunity for a 3-point play.
Did you see how he pushed that ball out front to gain the advantage to the basket? And we're talking about a guy that can play the off guard at the next level potentially. He's fast with the basketball. He just showed it right there.
Let's go to Holly Rowe.
Well, ever since I heard the name Cleanthony Early, I've been obsessed with the origin of it. I spoke to his mother earlier today, and she said that his dad's name was Cleve Anthony after his uncle, Cleveland. So she took the best of Cleve, put it with Anthony, and Cleanthony Early is the name. Remember it.
We'll remember it for a long time around these parts in Wichita, Kansas. This season started, by the way, first ever player, the X-Man. Got inducted into the College Basketball Hall of Fame, the first Shocker ever to do that. It was a historic night in Kansas City. The season's going to end on this floor. Another historic night as this team and this legacy continues to be built in this story of this year's Shockers team.
Early leads all scorers with 19.
Well, there'll be some new banners joining Xavier McDaniel, Clef Livingston, Antoine Carr, Dave the Rave Stallworth, and Cleo Littleton in the roundhouse.
Talked about it earlier today on College Game Day with Greg Marshall. It's not like there is not a tradition here at Wichita State. 1960s, they went to the Final Four. They won the NIT a couple of years ago. If you think Wichita State has snuck up on people these last couple of years, you've been sleeping. Baker, 3. The crowd felt that one. It's tipped out of bounds. It'll stay Missouri State basketball. 4:10 to go. You know, I want to revisit our conversation about what they have to do and who might face the toughest challenge for Wichita State in the Valley Conference. The one thing, and maybe this is from a layman's perspective, you hear the cliche, it's tough to beat a team 3 times in one season. Whoever they play, that's what the Wichita State Shockers are charged with.
Northern Iowa would be another team with Nate Buss and Seth Tuttle. Those bigs are hard to handle, and they're so skilled they can drag the big defending rebounders away from the basket. Northern Iowa would also have a chance.
There's a whistle. It looks like it's going to go on Colby. 3:57 to go. 64-39. They're nearing perfection.
When goals are set, then surpassed, what is next? When history is sought after, then seized, what remains? For these Wichita State Shockers, there is but one final challenge to overcome: to finish what they started, to be, for now and all time, undefeated.
The coach here with a studio update. What a game over on ESPN2. Pitt, Notre Dame. Irish down 3. How about VJ Beacham? Only bucket of the game to tie it. So, one final shot in regulation for Pitt. James Robinson. Pretty good look. Front iron. They're going to overtime. Tied at 65. Guys?
Thanks, Coach. No such drama here. 64-38. The second-ranked undefeated Shockers making a final regular season statement with 3:57 to go. Let's take a look at today's Sonic Showdown. And quite a script-flipping performance for the Shockers versus the last time these two teams played, Sean.
Well, in particular for Missouri State, their inability to stretch you from the outside. They were red hot in the first half of that game, the first time they met on January 11th, and then the water was shut off in the second. Great pressure defense by Wichita State that half. They turned them over, a big part of why they were able to erase the deficit that they dealt with. Tonight, there's been no deficit. Tonight, it's been a focused, energized effort from the very start.
Well, it's been about the number 31, and Greg Marshall says it is their 31. Their 31st straight victory, and they will go into the stratosphere of college basketball with a 31st victory here today to open the season.
Last time this team woke up after a loss was April 7th of 2013, the morning after the Final Four. Could they be primed for another Final Four run? 3:45 to go to close out the regular season. Perfect. That's 7 assists for Fred VanVleet.
Well, and none prettier. You talk about perfection. How about we hashtag it? SC Top 10. He's going up to the top floor, and so are Wichita State fans, understanding that this team right now on the verge of history and ranked number 2 in the country.
Knockout punch.
And you can tell Fred VanVleet could care less that he has 2 points this afternoon. Those 7 dimes, that's what has him smiling right now.
I think the scoreboard has a little bit of an impact on that as well.
I would say so. They've led from the opening tip and have given the 10,000 plus fans that have packed in here, standing room only, inside Koch Arena. They call it the Roundhouse. They have given them their money's worth and then some.
Now, Fred VanVleet, over the last 6 games, has had a 6-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio, only getting better.
And Greg Marshall getting set as we count down to 3 minutes to go in this contest to empty his bench a little bit. 5 on the shot clock. Baker. Lufiel.
Unselfish. Perfection.
Baker has 5 assists. Almost a turnover. And now 2.5 to go. The Roundhouse is ready to explode. Inside, McCullough. Baby hook, no good. Out of bounds. And Greg Marshall emptying his bench. Number 5, Zach Bush, will check in, as will John Robert J.R. Simon, a 5'11 freshman who runs the scout team point. And look at Ron Baker.
Goosebumps. It's a goosebump moment. You understand, it's rare, it's odd to see these type of things happen.
There's about 10,500 fans inside here. Something tells me a couple of years down the road, about 20,000 people are going to say they were in this building today.
Maybe about 10 more announcers as well. This is pretty cool.
A great day of college hoop once again. Syracuse, Virginia coming up next.
And listen to the round of applause for Cleanthony Early, a finalist on the Wooden Watch list. Leading all scorers this afternoon with 19, his final game in front of the home crowd.
Indiana was 32-0 in 1976 and won the national title. Larry Bird and Indiana State were 33-0 before losing to Magic Johnson in Michigan State in the NCAA championship game. Larry Johnson and UNLV were 34-0 before losing to Duke in the national semifinals. This is history right in front of us.
A minute 20 is all that stands between the Shockers and perfection. Wiggins, 3. One minute left. And we got a whistle. Free throws good. Nick Wiggins and Shadrach Lufil, 2 of the 4 seniors on this stacked Wichita State roster, take a final bow in front of Shocker Nation. Yes. And Greg Marshall still coaching from the sidelines. He's sitting down, but he's still coaching.
Well, there's more games to be won. This season is far from over. Wichita State has not won Arch Madness. They have their sights on Arch Madness next in St. Louis next week.
And you mentioned the little things that you can hold over your team. You know, they got out-rebounded the last time they went out. They come out tonight, they dominate on the boards. You mentioned their lack of success in the conference tournament. They're going to go get that accomplished. That's the next goal at hand. And then, of course, after that comes the big prize. For Wichita State and for Greg Marshall to accomplish what we're seeing right now, I'm telling you, it's going to be a long time until we see another team do it. Talk about strength of schedule all you want. This is difficult to do.
Nice take by Devin Thomas. And this is it. 10 seconds. The colors of perfection are black and gold. 31 and still not done. It began with a win over Emporia State on November 9th, and now Wichita State completes an unprecedented and historic season for the ages, undefeated in the regular season at 31-0. Mark Adams, you've seen this team in this league more than anybody. What are your final thoughts?
Scott May and Indiana move over just a skosh. Larry Bird and Indiana State make some room. Larry Johnson and UNLV move to the side. Wichita State is now an historic college basketball program.
Mr. Farnham?
So impressed with the consistency and the effort, the love that this team has for one another, the ability to come out and play defense at the high level that they have from the very start of the season all the way to the end. Congratulations to Coach Marshall and the Shockers on this historic afternoon.
Let's go to Holly Rowe with the victorious coach.
Well, Coach, as the final seconds were winding down in here, what was going through your mind?
Very proud. Very proud. Very proud of these guys, how they've handled this. There's been a lot of focus, both positive and negative, about this team. And every day they come to work. They come to work extremely hard. They're a great group of young men. They're fun to be around, and they deserve this 31-0.
When you look back, when did you know this season could be so special?
I think the way we came back and won at St. Louis, and then we won the CBE Classic in Kansas City. I thought at that point, wow, we could be pretty good and make another run in the NCAA tournament. I had no idea we would be at this point.
What are the qualities that your team has that have allowed them to be perfect so far?
Ollie, I think they defend. I don't know what we gave up tonight, but we just defend every possession. We try to limit easy baskets. We try not to give anything in transition. We try to take good shots and not turn it over on that end. And on this end, everything's got to be contested, whether it's a jump shot or at the rim, and then we usually rebound pretty well.
How do you avoid letting this moment be the defining one for your season and quickly focus on what's ahead?
Well, we've got to go get St. Louis now. When I get back to that locker room, we're going to start, are you satisfied? We've got the regular season now. Are you satisfied? And I know that they're not. They want to go to St. Louis and win that thing.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Greg Marshall. Quite a 51st birthday present for Greg Marshall. Celebrated number 51 2 days ago. He said they lost last year on his 50th birthday. This is much better. 51's much better than 50, but 31 is the magic number. Let's go back to Holly Rowe. All right, instead we'll say goodbye from Wichita. Now we send it to number 4 Syracuse versus number 12 Virginia. For Sean Farnham and Mark Adams, I'm Rich Hollenberg. Now to the ACC, Syracuse and Virginia.